So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where Germany wins in World War II. Now it has been a little bit since I've done a mapping video, and there's been reasons for that. I've already explained them in other videos, such as my last video, which was just called Update. Go check that out if you haven't seen it already. There's a lot of details and explanations within that video that are pretty important for the channel. But nonetheless, we are back to mapping now. And this is going to be an interesting one because I've never really done an alternate history before. I've only ever done the alternate future. So if you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you are new. All that support is greatly appreciated. I guess I'm officially back from my little break, so that's cool. It was kind of an unofficial break, but we're back nonetheless. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the scenario. It's also 2 in the morning, so I got to be a little bit quiet, but it's fine. You know, it's a Sunday, 2 in the morning. Great time for recording, right? All right, so Germany winning World War II. This is probably like the most popular alternate history subject ever, and that's most likely because it's the most impactful one. If Germany won World War II, the world would be a very different place than it is right now. In fact, a lot of the countries that all of us live in wouldn't exist. It would just be, well, Germany. So in order to officially establish how this would occur, we need to go ahead and go through the progression of World War II. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. History, or at least very detailed history, isn't my strongest, like, well, I don't want to say it's not my strongest because this is something that I'm pretty strong in, but it's not like I can't be 100% accurate. And I think that goes for most of people, you know, unless you're like majored in like history or something. I'm gonna miss some details. I'm gonna miss some things. That's what I'm trying to say. And I might miss some major things too, like things that might go on in the Middle East or over here in East Asia or Northern Africa. I'm going to miss some things, and that's because I'm mostly like informed on what happened in Europe, not so much as to what happened with the rest of the world. So once again, if I do miss something, I apologize. But as we know, the official World War II start date was when Germany invaded Poland. You could argue that it's when Japan invaded China. Some scholars do argue for that reason. But we're going to be starting with the Anschluss. If you don't know what the Anschluss was, it's when Germany annexed Austria in 1936. The reason I did this is because, you know, they want to unite all German peoples. And well, by doing that, they are taking out Austria and uniting a lot of Germans. Next up, we have the fall of the Sudetenland. Now, the Sudetenland is an area in Czechoslovakia with a heavily German-speaking population. Lots of Germans here, and Germany sent an ultimatum over to Czechoslovakia and told them to cede over the Sudetenland in order for them to go ahead and once again go with their goal of uniting all German people. Now, the Allies did kind of step in on this, being the UK and France, and they met in Munich and had the Munich Conference. And the Munich Conference, they agreed to cede over Czechoslovakia's land in order for Germany to stop its aggression and stop its expansion. Now, the one thing that we're going to learn about Germany is that it never keeps its trust. So, Germany will go ahead and violate the Munich Treaty, whatever it was called, and they invade the rest of Czechoslovakia. We all know how this went, right? Well, Germany won. And in their peace treaty with Czechoslovakia, what they do is they annex all of Czechia and puppeteer Slovakia. I keep saying Czechia and Slovakia on their own, but it's Czechoslovakia. Well, actually, no, now it's Czechia and Slovakia. Or I guess more so just Slovakia. With the fall of Czechoslovakia, Germany now has done what they wanted to do. They've united a large portion of German-speaking peoples and some other peoples like the Czechs. But now they're going to go ahead and shift their focus over towards the east, more specifically Poland. At this point, you know, we also have Italy. They already took out Albania, but they're also going after Libya. Or not Libya, they're going after Ethiopia. See, I told you I'd have some weird brain fart moments in this. Spain's civil war is pretty much through at this point, I believe. Almost through. The Japanese are attacking East Asia. And the Americans are preaching, well, they're kind of doing a weird thing. They're neutral, but they're supplying the Allies, or they're going to be supplying the Allies, but their main focus is kind of isolationism. And what that is basically USA only. Yeah, so, you know, screw you guys, screw you. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're still trading with these guys, but yeah, we don't care about what's happening over here or here. We only care about USA. That's a brief kind of explanation of what isolationism is. But back over in Europe, Germany is going to go ahead and start its invasion of Poland. This is a pretty big event because this is considered the starter of World War II. So with this, we have France and the United Kingdom coming to the aid of Poland. And of course, with that, their colonies, which, I mean, there's so many of them. Do I really have to color them all in? Like this, this. That's not even all of them. There's still more. Got these guys, and this guy, and this guy. Oh, Canada, Newfoundland, the Raj, you have Indochina, Australia, New Zealand. Yeah, there's a lot of colonies, basically. I think I got a majority of them, though. I'm probably definitely missing a few, like in the Middle East. But yeah, this is good enough for now. Once again, I'm mainly focusing in on Europe. I'm not worrying about the rest of the world. But from here, we're going to continue on with the timeline as it went in real life. Germany starts its invasion of Poland and basically crushes the small country, or not small, but poor country. And eventually we have the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Did I say that right? We have it being made, created. And what that is basically a non-aggression pact between the Germans and the Soviets. And also what it is a kind of like a call to arms from Germany saying, hey, join the war against Poland. And yeah, we Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, guys. And well, the Soviets join the war on their own, and they end up splitting Poland just like this. So Poland no longer exists, just like how it did in real life. So this is like my rough estimation of how the peace treaty went, but I'm pretty sure Germany just ended up annexing this piece of land, and then they made this into a puppet, and then the Soviets got this half of Poland. Not 100% sure, but I believe that's how it went. And then also at this time, we had the Soviets invading and taking over all of the Baltic countries and eventually starting a war with Finland. There's also the small part of Lithuania that Germany got. I forget what it's called. It's like Vilnius, I think, maybe. But they do get that. That's just by ultimatum. And also around this time, or somewhere near this time, Italy officially joins the war and starts a whole new front over here in Africa. I'm also forgetting the color in Tunisia and a few others. Once again, though, I told you I would forget. So with Italy in the war, there's now this little front thing going on. And this is basically how history has already played out in real life. Now we have the Germans doing their invasion of, not France, not yet, Denmark. Go ahead and make the 6-hour joke for the 50th time. And then they invade Norway. Now Norway was a pretty vital spot for both sides of the war because Norway is packed full of oil, and unfortunately in our timeline, Germany was able to seize almost complete control over Norway. I don't think they actually managed to get these islands up here. There's really no reason to, or should I say Norwegian to. I'll stop. And as far as I know, these were only occupations. There was no annexation, whereas with Poland and Czechoslovakia, there was annexation, which officially changed the borders over here. But these are occupations, which means that now we can kind of just not have to worry about map changes too much. We know that Germany went through the Benelux and they went into France. Dunkirk happened, which kind of really spelled defeat for France and the Allies in mainland Europe. And the Germans made their way through, not to Britain, they never got to Britain in real life, but they make their way around France. Italy eventually manages to get through, but they don't really do too much. And France surrenders over to Germany, and that leaves to Vichy France? I don't know. But it leads to Free France being down here in the African colonies. Of course, some African colonies are going to get taken over, like Indochina will be invaded by Japan, but the Allies are defeated in mainland Europe. Now this is kind of the point where Germany looks to be unstoppable. You know, Denmark also relinquished Iceland over to Britain before it fell. I believe that Greenland was relinquished over too. Not 100% sure though. And yeah, so this is like where Germany looks its best, and that's for a good reason, because they took out France, and now they can kind of do whatever they want with the rest of Europe, and that's exactly what they do. So Italy does lead a campaign against Greece, which fails horribly. I'm not sure when that happens on the timeline. Does Yugoslavia fall first, or does Greece? I'm pretty sure Yugoslavia falls first because Germany sends troops down to Greece. So putting this on hold real quick, we have the what I like to call the gangbanging of Yugoslavia, and I call it that because pretty much everyone around Yugoslavia got in on their downfall, which is kind of sad. But what happens here is, well, yeah. Greece is also eventually taken out with the help of Germany because Italy doesn't know what they're doing. And now all of mainland Europe is under Axis control, or at least all of Europe that has officially picked a side. Now the rest of these countries are neutral, aside from like Portugal. I mean, they did play neutral in real life, but realistically they were on the side of the Allies. Spain, same thing with them. They're on the side of the Axis, but they're playing neutral just because they went through a civil war not too long ago. Sweden, they say they're neutral, but you know, they've been pumping iron into Germany. And then Finland, we'll get to Finland here in a second. Now it's at this point is to where Germany is trying to invade Britain, and they're not, because the weather, because they can't, and because of air superiority issues. Also, the Royal Navy, very good. Those pesky Americans are doing the Lend-Lease stuff, not good. In Africa, there's been some troubling issues. They are making gains in Egypt, however, they are losing gains everywhere else. Even Ethiopia, I'm pretty sure Ethiopia actually gets completely taken by the Allies. And yeah, so it's not looking good for Germany in terms of the long run. Right now, if they were able to pull off a peace treaty, it would be amazing for them because they'd be able to, you know, basically win the war. But realistically, that couldn't happen because Britain is still a major contributor in this fight, and as long as they are there won't be a surrender. As Winston Churchill would say, they're going to fight on those beaches, and they will never surrender. I'm a little bit tired right now, so it probably didn't make any sense. Maybe it did, though. I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm probably going to end up playing Minecraft after this. Yeah, weekends are weird. Kind of just do whatever you want to do. Okay, so at this point in real life, Germany gets tired of waiting on Britain, and they end up invading the Soviet Union with the help of their allies. Now, big mistake there, because they do get about yay far, which before they are pushed around to yay there, and well, it's just a crushing defeat from there on out. So invading the Soviets, don't recommend it. I mean, the Soviets are already having the time of their life in Finland right now, so they've got enough on their plate. Also, Japan is working on China. They wouldn't really be able to help out in an invasion of the Soviet Union just yet. So it's best that you just wait. And in this timeline, this is where the timeline, you know, splits. We have Germany, they're going to focus on Britain. They're going to build up, they're going to wait, and once the time is right, they launch a amphibious invasion of Britain. And in this timeline, they wait long enough to where it works. So they start making ground on the Isle of Britain, and eventually they capture the capital of London. And from here, well, it's pretty obvious what happens. They start chunking off large and major areas of land, like Wales, for example. Wales eventually surrenders, and once pretty much all of England falls, we have the actual surrender of the British Empire. And this leads to a lot of major things happening, like the Raj, for example. They're going to go ahead and break away and become their own thing. Now, I'm sure that this would in turn lead to them, you know, kind of falling apart into Pakistan and India as we know them now. We also have Australia and New Zealand breaking away, if it would let me. There we go. And kind of these major parts of the British Empire start to, well, you know, break away from the British Empire, including Canada too. Newfoundland even becomes its own country in this timeline. And other major contributors in this war, I mean, I say that as I'm coloring Greenland, but they kind of see their way out. And it's at this point that the Allies surrender over to Germany, and we have ourselves a brand new timeline where Germany wins World War II. And the key reason that they were able to win is because they never ended up invading the Soviet Union. They never broke the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, and also Japan never went after Pearl Harbor. The United States never got involved, so we have an Axis victory. It's very easy to win wars when you don't have the two superpowers in the world involved. Alright, so taking a look at our official Axis victory World War II map, we can see that Germany basically looks like how they did after they annexed all of France in World War II, plus Denmark, and maybe plus Norway. Now, I'm not sure if they would completely annex Norway or not, or if they would just leave it as a puppet state, similar to what Poland and Slovakia are. My guess is that they would puppet it, similar with Iceland, if they managed to get that. I know Iceland broke away, so maybe they're free, maybe they're not, who knows. The main thing we need to look at here is that Vichy France, I forgot what it was, honestly, I'm kind of tired right now, but they are a puppet of Germany. We have them occupying what they did in World War II. Now, I know that they occupied these areas for coastal defense, so it is very likely that we would see the puppeteer France gaining this land back, but for the sake of just accuracy, based on what happened in real life, we have Germany just keeping that. We have an English puppet, and then Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland were freed. Well, it's kind of actually interesting with Ireland here, because I had Germany kind of negotiating with the Irish and saying, hey, we'll give you Northern Ireland if you become friendly with us. So we have an exchange happening where Ireland gets Northern Ireland in exchange for friendly relations with the Axis. Is that realistic? I don't know. Ireland was a neutral country at this point, so it really could go either way. But we have our basis for this What If Germany Won World War II video. We know how it happened, now what will happen. This is where I kind of like to do whatever I want to do with these alternate scenarios. In this case, it's the alternate history, so we're going to be taking a look at the alternate future of the alternate history. It's a weird way to word it, but I think it's correct. Okay, so Germany won World War II a few years ago. Let's just say a few decades ago, maybe like 10 to 15 to 20 years ago. They won, and they've been building, and they've been building greatly. They now have the largest military in the world, the most advanced military in the world. They have nuclear bombs, and they have the ability to basically screw up whoever they want to screw up, and it's going to be the Soviets. They've always wanted to invade the Soviets, and they just never have. So we have the Axis versus the Soviets, and I haven't really showed the outside map from Europe. Once again, I'm just not too touched up with what happened outside of Europe in World War II. I mean, I know what happened, but it's just not in like fine detail. So there's going to be some things that are wrong here. I mean, of course, this is like an alternate peace deal. I know Tanzania and Namibia were German colonies before they lost their colonies. I just had them taking over South Africa too, as well as getting Tanzania back. I'd probably end up getting that too. I don't know why that's not colored in, but Italy, they got a little bit more colonies, and I just really didn't touch much. I didn't really touch too much with this. Does that make any sense? I had Japan. I didn't color in China. I probably should have finished off China correctly. So let's just do something like, there we go. That's not what it would look like, but it's just a rough draft. We had Japan getting some of these colonies that Britain once had. Overall, once again, Axis victory, so it's pretty easy to span out. But now they invade the Soviets. And, you know, in real life, the Soviets at first were backed off a lot. And the same thing happens here. So the Germans have kind of a field day pushing into the Soviet Union. We also see Finland join this war, as they would have if they didn't lose the Winter War. They might have lost that war in this timeline since Germany never got involved. Well, no, because the Winter War had a conclusion where they lost land. But they re-entered a war to get revenge on the Soviets. So yeah, they rejoined this. But yeah, the same thing happens here, except it's a lot more, like, bad. It's not as pretty. We even have the Japanese fully committing on the Soviets, whereas before they also had to worry about China. Now they're just worried about the Soviets. And, you know, the Soviets, they're going to call in their ally, you know, Mongolia. I probably shouldn't have done that, though, because now Japan's going to have even more land once this war is over with. And yeah, I just kind of spoiled it there. Stalingrad, it goes a lot better than it did in real life. The Soviets lose, and eventually we have the capturing of Moscow. Now the Soviets, they do what they did in real life. They use their meat shields and they push back against the Germans, so good for them. Not so good for them though, is they don't get nearly as far as they once did. You know, considering that they went to Berlin, this was horrible. This was not a counteroffensive. This was the pathetic last attempt to damage Germany. They lose Moscow and the Soviet Union starts to fall apart. Sections of it start to cede over. Sections of it call for the German victory, just so they can maybe get their freedom, more specifically toward the Central Asian countries. But eventually the Soviet Union falls over to the control of the Axis, and we could go ahead and take a look at what would happen to the Soviet Union hypothetically. Alright, so looking at this peace treaty here, we can see that, well, it's not looking good for the world, because the Germans and the Axis are getting extremely strong. Now, Japan went ahead and left the Axis. They're on their own, and they're doing their own thing right now, which was whatever their alliance was called. I remembered it for a little bit, couple months ago, and I forgot what the name was called, so, whoops. Eastern Cosphere of Prosperity or something like that. But as we can see by the colors, or the countries that I've colored in, they're doing extremely well for themselves. In fact, they might actually go ahead and attack Pearl Harbor just to get it over with, because they're a lot stronger now than they were when they attacked Pearl Harbor in real life. They lead the Axis, and Germany's okay with that. And it might be at this point now where Germany starts to annex its puppets. So Vichy France, they go ahead and get annexed. Poland, Slovakia, they get annexed. The Baltics and the Russian puppet, they may not, well, it would probably be more like a Ukrainian puppet and a Belarusian puppet and then a Russian puppet. And then whatever this would be called, the Caucasian puppet. But they probably won't get annexed right away because they need to kind of assimilate them into Germany, kind of, you know, make them German forcibly. So there might be a little bit of waiting on that, but other than that, yeah, Germany's going to go ahead and start annexing its puppets, so Norway, England. And it might be at this point that the world starts to kind of fold into the Axis. So Sweden, as we know, they're kind of neutral, but they're kind of non-neutral. They'd join the Axis. We would have Spain officially joining. Switzerland would unfortunately get invaded by the Germans. The Italians would get a little bit of land from that, mostly the Italian parts of Switzerland. But yeah. So this is where Germany is truly unstoppable now. I mean, of course, a few atom bombs would do it, but a few atom bombs here would mean a few atom bombs here, and you really don't want that. Japan's got its own little spear thing going. Sphere. Yeah, they're doing that. So you can kind of see how, like, the influence spears go. Looks not great. The United States has its own spear in the Americas, as we know. It'd be something like that. So basically, old world versus new world. Just wait for them to cross the ocean, though, because that's when you're in trouble. Speaking of which, Iceland is invaded, Greenland's invaded. They would probably end up invading Wales and Scotland, too. Portugal would get invaded. All of Africa would fall. So you can kind of see what would happen if Germany won World War II. Turkey would most likely their elections would either get rigged or influenced, and they would end up joining Iran. It would be a domino effect. So good thing Germany didn't win World War II, right guys? Anyway, that is gonna do it for today's video. I'm extremely tired. It's 2:46 in the morning. I don't want to go to bed, but I probably will. I do want to give a quick shout out to my second channel, AdizzPro. I'll try to link it in the description. I might actually just end up making an official description box for it instead of just having to put it in every video. That's my streaming channel. I've been doing a few streams. I've done 2 Fortnite streams over there so far, and those have been extremely fun to do. So yeah, I'm probably gonna end up streaming there like once a week, maybe more than once a week if I have time. So it's something that I've been really enjoying, and I want to spread the word of that channel to as much of you as possible. I already shouted it out in the last video, but I know some of you didn't watch that video because it wasn't mapping, so I'm going to do it again here. I might even do a community post on it. But yeah, once again, that's going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to show some support. If you want to see more alt history videos just like this, let me know in the comments. You can also let me know by liking and subscribing. You know, seeing a video do good in analytics typically means that YouTubers do more of that kind of video. Yeah, once again, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. And of course, thank you to all the super fans, which include Matthew Newman, Yam, Kali Speaks Plays, Shadow Gamer Z, Deva Edits, Mr. Bonk 7, Hammer Toad 45, Patrick Clauser, Connor the Gamer, Texan Cowboy Cheese, Poland Country Ball, Yakko, Nevada Garbage Trucks, DW Cool Dude, Soviet Ball, and Serminator. Once again, thank you guys.